The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned.
Hey kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Welcome back. Happy Sunday, and it's a little bit cold out here, but that's okay. I want to get this boat done so we can move on and clean up this shop and just blah. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to work on fuel systems. Nothing. So our shaft's in, our hardware's in. What else do we have? Gotta do our radio box, and I think that's what we're going to do next. So I am going with a water pump in this particular duck. All right. So what we're going to do, very, very simply.
Well, we're waiting.
What this is, let me grab one. Well, I'm not even going to grab you one. These things I've used in the past, and they work really, really, really well. I'll put a link in the description of the video if you want to use an electric pump. Like I said earlier, you can use a pulse pump that goes off the engine, which I don't usually do, or you can use one of these. It's a little 5-volt DC motor, and then I just solder up a Futaba connector to it. I did design and 3D print a cap, okay, and the cap's just to keep it from getting totally soaked with water or whatever else. It's pretty waterproof, and the motor will stay cool. It's not like you're out there running this boat for 6 hours straight, right? So the motor will stay cool just in lieu of the pump itself. So we'll just mount the pump on the lid. This is going to plug into our receiver. We'll probably mount it like this. Okay, no big deal. Now my lids, where'd it go? Okay, my lids that I do with my that I designed with my radio box. God, I can't talk today. I have a vent hole in the top, and usually what I do is I just put a little bit of tape over this. When I'm done running the boat, I peel the tape back, and that way if there is any condensation in the radio box, we can, everything's fine. So what we're going to do in this case is, that's my antenna tube that I usually use. I'm literally just going to do this. Okay. Now let's see, maybe I won't. Yeah. Because that can be just like this. That'll be fine. And we will just, because you want to be able to get your hatch tape on there. Maybe I won't mount it there. Maybe we'll mount it to the side. I haven't decided where I'm putting this yet. We'll figure that out. There's no room inside my box for this because I designed these boxes and use all these boxes for the same thing. Fair play. That's good. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab the other servo. And again, I've conformal coated the living hell out of these things. All right. That's just how I do it. You don't have to conformal coat anything. All right. And we use just a swivel connector, very basic. I always use 440 rod. This particular boat, the 440 is actually going to go through here, and I'm going to have to bend it up. I'm going to have to put a gradual Z-bend in it, not the end of the world, like that. Okay. Now it does make it a little bit more tricky when you're trying to line everything up because the output of this out to the rudder is higher than this. Not by much. This is going to be a nice gradual Z. It's not going to try to avoid sharp bends because then it acts like a spring, and but Skiff's not the hardest turning boats in the world because there's nothing grabbing the water. It's a flat bottom boat. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to half-ass measure this. Put it in. Okay. And I know you can't see the other side of it, but it looks like right about here, you can probably put in a bend, and then right about there, like that. Okay, I'll straighten this out, make it look a little neater, but that's it. That's not going to give you any spring flex or anything like that. That'll be totally fine. We've got a reasonably low throw. You know, we're not going like a Thunderbolt where it's really, really long or anything. This end's going to thread obviously into here. And we'll just snake it through. It's going to go through this bellows, through this hole as a guide, and then it's going to go out. Very, very, very straightforward. No big deal. It's going to be up like this. So there's no point in doing that on camera because you're not going to be able to see it all anyway. I will show you when I'm done, so I will bid her out of back. Alright, so I ended up not running it through that extra hole. I didn't like the angle. It made it too sharp, so I opted for more of a gradual angle out. No big deal. So you can see I have to replace those black screws in there. Those are holding on the rudder. I ran out of stainless, so I had to use carbon, and I don't like that because they'll rust. So those are coming out. They're too long anyway. But I did a reverse boot, so I CA glued the boot to the edge of the boat and running it through there. And that's real easy to do. If you slide the boot onto the onto your push rod, put some CA glue around it, pull your push rod through the boat so the boot's mouth goes against the transom, shoot it with a kicker or activator, and it will seal itself to the hull good enough to at least keep a little bit of water out. It's not the end of the world. It's above the water line anyway. You don't even need a boot there, but I did an internal one. So we got this screwed in and threaded into our steering servo. Our throttle servo we don't need to set from there. We're going to set it from here. So we're just going to put our caps on. Very, very simple. And again, if anybody wants these 3D prints STL files, please let me know. I'll gladly give them to you. Now the caveat to that is you have to use all the exact same stuff I use hardware-wise, or else this box doesn't work unless you want to modify the file, which you're more than welcome to. Alright, we're just going to zip through these other two screws. Takes too long with the slow-ass drill. Be right back. Alright, couple things. I moved the boat, obviously. One of my subscribers said to me yesterday, and I don't know, my head was up my ass. When I went to Lowe's, I went with my daughters and my wife yesterday because I needed silicone for that radio box. And I just grabbed this, not thinking anything of it. I just saw marine, fast cure, through hull fastening. Yeah, that'll work great. I ignored the PL part. And my buddy on the channel is like, dude, I've used that before. You ain't getting that box out. That stuff's like forever. And it dawned on me, and thank you, brother, when I read his thing, it's like, yeah, when I used to do, I didn't do construction, but I've remodeled houses and things like that. And I used to use PL 400, which is a compound that you will literally, we would put that on the back of 2x4s, put them on the cement, and then gun nail them in. And yeah, PL, yeah. So don't use this if you ever want to get your radio box out. That box ain't never coming out. That's okay. No big deal. I don't usually take them out anyway. But, so this water pump that I use, what we're going to do, like I said, I just put one little wire on there, a little Futaba connector. All right. And then we're going to use, this is a 5-volt pump, mind you. I don't use this battery. I use 6-volt batteries, which actually for my radios, which actually charge up higher than that. This is a 4.8 that's not even charged. It's got juice. Let's see. I'm going to show you all why I like these little pumps. And they're actually very dependable. It's a little scary because they're cheap, and if they go out, your engine's fried. Oh yeah, but they usually don't. I need different leads for this. 4.7, so it's not quite 5, but it's, yeah, I guess it's pretty well charged. So what I did, I marked the intake with a black. So this is our intake. And our output's going to be this red devil here. And all I'm going to do is plug this in. It's a self-primer too, so you don't have to worry about. Okay. See that? Works really well. Yeah, that moves some water. Your engine ain't gonna overheat with that. Now, I guess the drawback is, one, it's another device, it's another thing that is in your boat that could stop, could go wrong. I've never had one blow, and I've used these for years, this exact pump. And I've also decided I had another dude on I can't remember if it was in our little chat group or if it was on YouTube. He said, why don't you just start like an Amazon list, on my Amazon account, for all the crap that I do get off there. You guys can just go to that list and find it. I'm going to do that because I'm terrible at remembering putting things in the description. I really suck at that, and I apologize. These pumps are $10 a piece. I've used them for about 6 years on and off. Like my nitro tug that I built, I wanted a water pump in there to circulate through the head because it was a slow boat. Other various boats I've done electric cooling on, and they work really, really good, and I have not had a problem. I guess the one drawback, if there is one, is the fact, yes, it's going to eat your battery life more. Now, I did a test one day. I let that run on one of these batteries, I think for like 7 hours or 9 hours, pumping water, and it dropped like 1.5 volts. But you combine the loads of your servos and all that crap. Yeah, but you're still going to get a full day of running. Like when I go out and run a boat, 9 times out of 10, if I run more than 2 tanks, I'm doing good. I might switch boats or do something else, but I'm not sitting there running the same boat for 4 hours a day. So the only caveat with this, I guess, would be after you run, if you do a system like this, just charge your battery every time. That way you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that's really about it. And I did decide to mount it this way on my cover. So tube's going to come in. This is my input side, so from the rudder. This is the output side going to the head. All right. And it's going to sit on the box like this. I just use CA glue. This is PLA that I printed with, and trust me, when you CA PLA, yeah, that's hard to say. CA PLA, it is forever, pretty much. Okay, so let me go grab the boat again. Let's finish this pig up. All right, and we're back. You like all the little dead bugs and bullshit in here? It's gross. Anyway. So the switches I use, these are the ones I get off Amazon. They are marine switches. They're waterproof, and I've tested it, they work very well. They are also lit up if you want to do that. Now, I'm usually running my boats in excessively bright sunlight. There's no point, in most cases, on a couple boats I did it for fun, of making this little LED in here light up. It does look cool. If you really want to do that, that's fine. We're not going to do it on this boat. So you can see here where it says on and on. Okay, those are your actual switch. These are for the light. All right, so you'd have to bridge one over to here, positive to here, and that would be your switching connection, which I think if you order these switches, there's a little diagram for that. It's pretty straightforward. Now I've already pre-tinned the two that I'm going to use, terminals, and all I do is take a servo extension like this, and I solder I cut the negative. That's the side you want to switch in most cases, and I solder one to one leg, one to the other. This goes to the receiver, this goes to your battery. It's very, very simple. So now it is easier in some cases to solder this outside and then put the switch in. However, need a drink today, too shaky. It makes it hard too, because then you just have to worry about pushing everything through, and it's just whatever. So I'm going to go ahead. I might retin this a little bit more. I'm doing this from a bit away too. There we go. A little bit of building a ship in a bottle. It's kind of fun, right? Not hard. There it is. Done is done. Now, there's different schools of thought on, electricity, which side you should switch. I always put the negative on here. Now, you can cut these other 2 terminals off if you want them off. It's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt anything. But I don't have to worry about wrapping electrical tape around this or anything like that, because it's just the ground side. If it's the positive side, then you might have to worry a little bit more about what could touch it, what could short out, this, that, whatever. So we're going to test to make sure our receiver's working with the switch, if I can figure out what I did with it. All right. So we're going to use our junky battery here. And I'm just going to take before I get everything all stitched up and pretty, okay, steering's going to be channel 1, as we should know, unless you're really new to this, okay. Then we're going to have our throttle over here, channel 2. I'm going to put my battery in channel 3. Doesn't matter where you put the battery. Okay? Easy peasy. Now, oh, battery. Dumbass. Alright, hook our battery up. Now, move our light away so we can see this a little bit better. There we go. Works fine. Let me grab the radio. And we're going to dial this into the other Skiff channel. Captain Kid. That's fine. Let's see where our trims are. Throttle is right there. We're going to back that guy off. Alright. So we're going to turn it back on. Battery's a little weak. Okay. I need to fix that boot. Okay. Battery's weak, plus this boot is kind of binding up. But other than that, that's fine. Let's make sure our little pump fiasco is going to work as well, because we don't want to button everything up and have that not work. So we're going to put that. It doesn't matter where you put this, by the way. So I'm going to turn it off. And put that just. I like them all in line. That way, when you tape them down, it's nice and tight, and everybody's happy. Okay. Perfect. All right. Turn on. You should hear the pump go. Loud little devil when there's no water in it. But I like that because I can tell if it's running before I even throw it in the water. All right. And then all we're going to do, we're going to run all these wires through this box. This is not a watertight box. I didn't design it to be a watertight box, just to hold the receiver, basically. I balloon these, which you guys have seen me do a myriad of times. So yeah, we're going to slide it through there, put our balloon on, and like you saw me do in many videos before, what I do is I take tape, I tape these down, I put a balloon over it. You can make it come out of the top if you want. In this case, yeah, probably make it come out of the top. It's not really a big deal. Okay? Simple, simple. I'm not going to do this on camera. You guys have seen me do this 1,000 times. I'm just going to make sure these are all good. I've also been known to take a little drop of CA glue, a little stream of CA, and just put it right across there and glue all of these in. Because if your boats bounce around like a motherfucker, people don't realize they probably bounce around more than cars do. You don't want this stuff ever coming out. And if you ever need to get these out, you can just take a razor blade, slice through that CA glue, boom, you're done. Everything's good. And that's about it. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. We'll do the balloon, we'll set everything through here, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, got everything tidied up. That is the entire radio box. Our antenna's coming out of here. And there's no sense in making, like I told you, this isn't a watertight receiver box. This is just to neaten things up, get all these cables out of the way and whatever else. So what I do is I zip strip them together, put a balloon around it. I zip strip the balloon. You've seen me do this a couple times. Twice with 2 zip strips. I stuff it in there. I put a couple dots of CA glue on my lid here because hopefully I'll never have to touch it again. And my antenna comes out of here. Then what we did, make sure we had enough wire. Take the lid off. And then this is just a scrap piece of tube. I put a bolt in the end of it. Put a little bit of matching heat shrink around there if you want to. Since this one's going to be exposed, I'm trying to make it look a little decent. And then, so when we go to tape on our thing, we just slide our antenna in there, put our hatch tape on, just ready to go. Easy peasy, okay? And then our battery, this is, where's my good batteries? Just had, oh well, doesn't matter, you get the gist. I use the black ones, but the battery just slides in there, and it everything holds real nice. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, maybe the last thing we're going to do, I did go ahead and tighten up. I centered my servo. I have not done the throttle yet, but the throttles are, or the servos are at 0. So all I do with this then we need to take a bolt, put it in the yaw. Because I lost me set screw. Which is fine because I don't like set screws for this. This is already at 0, so I'm just going to set this right about there. This does not need to be torqued the hell down. Looks like it could be a little bit better than that. Kind of tricky getting these to work the way you set where you want them. Halfway. There we go. All right, so before we go running this thing, we're gonna set our height on our prop shaft and all that good stuff. But and we'll test our fail safes and all that. We're gonna run our water line now. Now, with this boat, all I did was bring it straight in the back. Should go in fairly easy. Okay, just like that. Now, whichever one you want to use, doesn't really matter. I'm going to bring it up. This one's going to be our header. And think about how you want it wrapped. Always go from the bottom. This is a dual pickup rudder, so we do not... Let's see, how do I want to run this? Yeah, just leave it like that. Give it a little bit of extra. And I will just cut it and put it right on one of the rudder outputs, doesn't matter which. Now for the next one, same principle, but this one's going to be going to the water pump. Okay, this was our input. Now we got to make sure, I'm going to put a little WD-40 on here. Oops, we got to make sure that we have enough tubing to move our lid off, and I will zip strip all of this stuff together. So if I take this off, that's plenty. Actually, right there. Bring it down to our rudder. I'll show you this in a second. Just like that. Okay. Might even pull them in just a touch. Don't need a ton of slack. Same principle with this side now is going to go to the head. So if you're doing this with a pulse pump, it's pretty much the same principle. You got an innie. These are hard to get out. You got an innie, you got an outie. Okay, good enough. And this one's going to go to our head. Now, I don't love the fact that it's going that way, but there's no winning with that, so we're going to go ahead and cut it right about there. Might do some hose management too. Same principle with this. Now, it's going to be our output of our head. Always low to high. All right. So I want this output to be the head, this output to be the header. Okay. I've explained that in videos before. That way you can see if your head's getting cooling or not. If you put it behind the other one, you'll never see it. Okay. There's that one. And we'll put, oops, sorry about that. Put the other one on. Okay. Now what I usually do is I'll wrap these once or twice. You don't have to. And bada bing. Then I turn it down so it naturally wants to go to the back. See, like that? Alright. That's that. We could put a zip strip here. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a zip strip, I'll gently put it around the hose, and then I'll CA glue the zip strip as a holder. I'll show you that. So that is it. We've got our outs, we've got our ins, got our rudder, got that. All we've got to do is a fuel bag next, and that takes a whopping 2 seconds. So be right back. Right, and we're back. It's been actually about 4 hours because the smoking hot wife, who is a professional photographer, had to go do a gig, and so I was on daddy duty And there we go. Done is done. Nothing hard. All right. So one thing I did in my downtime, if you will, is I made an Amazon list. And I will keep adding to it as time progresses, because I'm sure I didn't put on everything, but I'm trying to put everything on that Amazon list, and I put it. It will be in the description of every video from here on out, and I'll add stuff to it probably weekly or whenever I think of it. Or if you see something that might be intriguing, shoot me a message, let me know, and let's build up a neat little database there of stuff. But a lot of the stuff you see on the channel, the chemicals, the tools especially, they might not be the identical tools I'm using, but they're comparable, but most of them are identical. The switches, servos, glues, epoxies, sandpaper bulk sets, all sorts of stuff. So have a look at that list. It's in the description. It's going to be pretty cool. So the next thing we're going to do, we've got this set up. Now we're going to do the fuel bag. Okay? So super easy. What we're going to do, now, with most of my boats, if it has an easy access to the carb, I don't put in a fuel filling line. So with a fuel filling line, you would put a Y on there, like this, splitter, and put another tube off with a cap, and then this would go with the carb, and then when you wanted to fill it up, like my hydroplanes, my Blazer backlashes, you can't get to the carb to unplug it. You just can't. It's impossible. So I have a fuel filler line. This one's like a cracker. Super easy. So all you got to do, super easy when you can see the damn thing. Okay, just like that. Nothing hard. Now, the next thing I do is I take the bag, which I just frickin' had. Alright, so there are multiple types of fuel setups out there, okay? I am 100% an old bag.
Capitan, do you think there is anyone down there knows us?
I hope not.
I like the bags. I do not like fuel tanks. I don't even like fuel tanks in nitro, but I have no choice when I run nitro. But be that as it may, if you're going to be using a fuel tank, look it up. There's, I'm sure, plenty of those guys on the forums that can tell you how to do it. I don't own one out of the 15, 17 gas boats that I currently have operational. I do not have one that has a real gas tank. I use fuel bags. Now, these are zip kits. I buy, I don't know, 25, 30 a year, honestly, because I have a lot of boats. And about every 6 months, probably about every 3 months, I'll just replace them. They're real cheap. They're like $1 or $2 a piece. They're very cheap. They're an IV bag. That's all they are. And you can get them from Gizmo. You can get them from any Bonsai probably has them. Gizmo has them. Dave Motors. I don't know. And I like these. They make them with 1 port or 2. The 2-port ones are a little sketchy. Some people might like them, but it's easier for filling. But, not my thing. I like these. Okay? So I put a little bit of WD-40 on our pitot tube here, which is our filling tube. And I did a video not real long ago about the pros and cons of using a bag because, there we go. There are some good reasons to use them and bad. Not bad, but, there's pros and cons to everything in life. And I just think the pros outweigh the cons. One of the biggest cons of using a fuel bag is if you get air in them, one little air bubble, bing, kills your carb. Gas tanks, you don't have that problem. But if you do your gas bag right, you won't have that issue. The other problem with gas bags is they are very fragile. If you've got sharp stuff in your boat, you can rip a hole. I have had that, or just rubbing it back and forth. I've had that happen. Where I'm running and my engine starts revving. It's like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Like, what the hell? It's because my bag's cracked. It's okay. It's not a big deal. For the time being, I'm going to put mine right there. I don't really see a reason to put it anywhere else. I think it's a pretty good spot. We can always move it around later if we want to change our CG or anything like that. So, very simple. I put that little pitot, I call it a pitot tube, it's a filling tube, it's an aluminum tube, okay? It should go down farther because if your tank folds over like that, you can cut off your fuel supply, but I don't foresee that happening. These also come in different sizes. This is medium. They make a smaller one and a much larger one, like huge. And we're just gonna, in reality, guys and gals, you don't even have to zip strip these. I've never had one come off. The barbs are pretty big and the tube's pretty small. But I suppose if you're using a funky line, I know the fuel line that I use, you'd have to have an act of God to disconnect it. Now, one thing that is a problem, and I've had this happen on crackers. I remember a couple years ago, I was out on my mom's lake, the big lake across the way, and we were running crackers, my buddy and I, Alan, at the time. He moved away, but we were running, and something happened. I don't know if he latched his fuel bag in or didn't. He obviously didn't, and so it was just kind of hanging, and crackers are open, and we hit some waves, and that it went over the side, and it did become disconnected, ripped off, and sunk. Yeah, no big deal. It's a couple bucks. Now, what I use to hold mine in usually is this little gizmo here with the JJ on it. Now, what this is a buckle. It's 3D printed. Okay, and it's like what you have in a backpack, just a buckle. I 3D print them. I do about 50 a year, and that's all there is to it. It's very, very simple. And I take my supersonic double-sided tape, which is on our Amazon list, and I put a piece there, and then I zip strip the bag to here, and that's it. Now, if I ever want to take the bag out, I can, but it's just really to keep it in the boat. The other alternatives you can do are magnets, things like that. Zip Kits makes a magnet set. Probably everybody does. It's just magnets that hold it into the bow or under the bow, wherever you want to go. It's very, very simple. However you want to do it. I mean, I've seen guys like take a zip strip and glue the zip strip to the sidewall. I mean, if that's what you want to do, whatever blows your skirt up. Now, let me find my super duper tape. There it is. I swear by this stuff. It's in the Amazon list. It's not the cheapest crap in the world, but it definitely, it's waterproof, and it has some stiction power now. Okay. Now, what a lot of people fail to realize is tape, any kind of tape, and vinyl wrap, same thing, like this stuff, it is glue. I mean, so like if you just, this razor blade's trash, if you just try to instantly yank on it, or you think it's going to hold way up here, you got to let it sit for a few seconds before you put a lot of stress on it. It does help. Yeah. See, that stuff's, I'm just cutting a little bit off so it doesn't catch the dead bugs. Alright, that's it. Now, I'm going to take some alcohol. My bottle's trash. I need to get some new bottle. And we're just going to clean off this spot. All right. Not a big a deal. Take. All right. Now, take us a little zip strip. Tie wrap, depending on where you're from. Very, very easy. Blink, like that. Don't make it tight. Doesn't need to be tight. I will bring it down to so it can still kind of go back and forth. Like I said, if you guys ever see me use 3D printed stuff, I've made it, and I can get you the STL file perfectly fine. All you gotta do is let me know. Alright? I'll be glad to share that with you. And I'm just gonna put my baggie probably here, because once it's full. So I'm gonna take this off. And just put it right there. Okay? That's it. And when it fills up, it's actually gonna shrink. It's gonna be like that. And that'll be nice. And you can epoxy these clips in, but to be honest, I've had better luck with the frickin' tape than I have with glue. As funny as that is. It's, swear to God, true story. All right, now, I suppose we can go ahead and grease up our shaft a little bit. And everything's pretty well set. I could do some cable management here. Now, let me show you an example of what I mean. Watch this blow up in my face and not work. I've done this before. So you take a zip strip and you pull it like that, okay? This is the poor man's. Now, I have done 3D printed stuff and whatever else, and you can just literally put a drop of CA glue on that zip strip. Okay, let's go ahead and do one. Now, some things that sometimes what helps, this is a very shiny plastic, okay? We'll scuff it a little bit. Easy. Where's my... Alright. Now, you don't want to kink the shit out of this because you got water going through it. And if you cinch this too tight, you won't have water going through it. And I'm just going to hold it like that. Now, I've had some good luck with this. It really depends on the boat, depends on what you're doing. I have done 3D printed hose guides. See, that'll probably come off. I didn't clean it. 3D printed hose guides where it's just like a little flat spot, almost looks like this thing, a little flat spot with a diameter through it, and you slide the tube through it, and then you can glue or do whatever you want with it. And those work really well too, but I usually don't worry about it. There we go. See? Nice and easy. Not an insanely impressive trick, but it does work. Now, with this particular one, I mean, I could put another one right there, and then with this one, I would probably put one right there. It doesn't have to be perfectly tight. Normally, I wouldn't even worry about it. Depending on the fuel line, or I'm sorry, cooling line that you're using, you might want to zip strip these. Probably a good idea. I don't know if I'm gonna. Honestly, the fuel line that I use is pretty good when it comes to that. The same thing goes to your rudder. I usually don't worry about that. But it depends on the model. If it's like a nitro engine and your fittings are a little bit tiny, then yeah, that can be you want to zip strip it. But all these are, I pretty much had to force them. Even these. This pump does have a lot of power, but it don't have that much power. That thing takes about 60 pounds to pull off. I'm not even going to worry about it. I may zip strip them, I may not. Now, the other thing we have to do is I have to put magnets on my hatch over here at some point. I can go ahead and maiden this and run it without the hatch. That's easy. Let me grab a glove and some grease. Okay. Now, I might run it with this prop just to see what it does. This is the old Cracker prop. It's a good prop. It's a great prop. But about any 70 millimeter will work. And I use various different types of grease on my shafts. I try to experiment. I try to find grease that, and like I said, I grew up in a real marina, so I know a little bit about some of the stuff that they use for water, waterproof grease. But I try to experiment. I really like the WD-40 stuff, actually. And I'm sure somebody out there will poo-poo that, but it works pretty well. This is Quicksilver with the Teflon in it, I think. It's good stuff. But you could use trailer bearing grease, and it's probably going to do the same thing. Because if you, honestly, if you're using a wire or something like that, it's different. But if you do it right, you should be greasing your shaft after every full run. That doesn't mean every tank of gas. I mean, if I go down there and I'm really having a good time and I run 3 tanks of gas through this boat, I don't grease it between every tank. Now, if you're a racer, you might. I don't know. I've broken a shaft once and it had nothing to do with grease. What I do is I grease my boats every time I take them out, not when I bring them in. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, just as long as you get it done. And the other thing I do is I don't grease that last inch. Because if you do grease that last inch, it goes into the collet. Then when it spins, you get schmutz all over the inside of your boat. That's a pain in the ass. So if you guys have tried some greases that I haven't, and I've tried a lot of them, but I'm sure not all of them. The Quicksilver stuff's a bit expensive. And, you know, whatever. Clean up the... There we go. Okay, clean up my hand here. All right, then all we've got to do, take 2 5/8. We're going to jam this dude up. See what happens here. It's kind of a funky angle on this boat. Right. Like I say in all my videos, don't be afraid to crank the hell out of it. I'm not a little dude. I'm 250 pounds, 6'1" or so. I put some butt into it usually. You ain't gonna break it. If you break it, you either have a cheap collet or you are a strong dude. Alright. So that looks like that's about it. And I think we will probably, aside from setting my strut, I have to set my 30 mil below center line. So bottom of the boat to the center line of the prop, okay, is 30 millimeters to start out with, recommended. I do need to figure out a magnet system, which I think I've got an idea. Nothing earth-shattering hard here. Not even remotely. So we can do something with that pretty easily. And that's, I think, about it. Real quick before we finish up, I forgot. I use these clamps, these old fuel clamps. I have yet to 3D print a successful one because they're out of nylon, and I can print with nylon, but it's a real pain in the ass. It's much cheaper for me to buy these for 25 cents a piece. I just buy 10 of them at a crack, and all these are fuel shutoff lines. Okay, this is how I do these boats that I pull right off the carb. Just crimp it, pull it off, put your filler on, you know, you get it. When I don't use a Y filler, that's what I use. So, forgot to mention that. We'll double check our radio, we'll do the fail-safe, and when we do the maiden on this, which I'm really kind of hoping is tomorrow, if the weather holds up, we're going to go ahead and fire this baby up and get her going. See what she looks like. See how it runs without trim tabs. I don't know about that. I mean, I can still get them on there, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's about it, I think. Did I forget anything else? Charge the battery, got the grease. I think we're copacetic. I think we're good. Okay. So, until hopefully tomorrow, this will probably be the first boat we're maidening. We have to maiden the rigger, the electric rigger. We have to maiden the V-box. We have to maiden the next videos that are coming up are going to be on our G30 tunnel. I have not forgotten about it. Waiting on a part in the mail, and I got the decals on it the other day and clear coated. Turned out really nice. Looks good. But we still need to do all the hardware on that, whatever. So we have to maiden the rigger, the V-box, the Super Sport, and this one. So we have a lot of work to do. But this one's probably going to be the first one to get maidened. Just because it's real easy. You know, it's got a clutch in it. We'll throw it in there. We'll see what it does. I'm not expecting much because I'm using kind of a bastard prop and no trim tabs. So God only knows what's going to happen. But we'll see what happens. Everything else should be... I mean, it'll run. It'll be all right. But I'm not really going to be too anal about this one going Mach 8 or anything. My other two skiffs run really, really well. And they're very fast for a skiff. And they turn great. They just do everything. They're so fun to drive. This one can just be, like I said, my day cruiser. I can just go out there and putt around and have a little bit of fun with it since it has a clutch, something I'm not used to. And you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know, maybe it'll be the fastest boat in the fleet. Who knows? You know, as far as these go. But that's about it for this boat until tomorrow or the next day. But weather permitting, we're going to maiden this pig. We'll take her down the hill, drop her in, and fire it up. So until then, kids, keep dry side up. Bye.
Over the hills and far away, Teletubbies come to play.
1, 2, 3, 4.